Alright, so I'm going to try to make a game in 1 day. In other words, 24 hours. So yeah, let's get started. So in order to quote unquote make a game, there has to be two things that needs to be fulfilled. The first is being objective. There needs to be some sort of task that the player needs to complete. Like how in Among Us, the crewmates need to complete ship tasks while voting out who is the imposter, and the imposter has to kill the crewmates and prevent the task from being complete. The second requirement for having a game is obstacles, and these obstacles are made to prevent the player from completing their task, and that ranges from a very lazy bluish creature that blocks your path because it decided to take a nap in the middle of the road for some reason, fighting giant scary monsters that will make you want to break your computer. Okay, so let's get started. After some brainstorming, I decided to make a game where the player controls a fish and has to avoid being caught in nets. And every time it avoids some net, you get a point. Totally not like any other game out there that was really popular like 10 years ago. So I started the basic of creating a player object. Unlike where I programmed the player to move in all directions, this time I only made it so that the player can move up. Alright, it's getting kind of late now. Time for a nice relaxing shower. Alright, now that I got the basics down, let's get started on the two requirements for the game. First, let's get started with the obstacle requirement. Let's create a prefab for the obstacle. Oh, you don't know what a prefab is? Well, let me explain. Let's say that little Timmy wants to create star-shaped cookies for a party. So he goes and welds a cookie cutter that is in the shape of a star, aka your prefab. And now he can basically print out as many star-shaped cookies as he wants using the prefab. And so, using my iPad, I drew a fish for the game and as well as the nets for stopping the fish. Wow, what a cool bird that is. Look! Yoink! And with that, I created a prefab of the nets so that way it can keep spawning. Now, I'm going to implement this thing called a parallax background, which basically makes the background move at a slower pace than the pipes. That's beautiful. Mwah. Alright, it's kind of late now, so it's time for me to hit the bed as I got work early in the morning. Finally, I'm done with work. So now we have our two key components of a game. But the issue is, none of the components work. Like for some reason my fish just goes straight through the nets and just swims forever. Like, what the heck? Okay, well, I can't have that now because the game would be garbage if this is what it is. So after painstakingly looking through every nooks and crannies of the game, I found my answer. The issue was that the obstacles were not activating because my box collider was not big enough, because if you see right here, it doesn't outline the whole net, but it's just one small little box. Alright, now it should be working. Okay, why isn't it working? Alright, at this point, it's past 24 hours, and it's still not working. So, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just kidding, I'm staying up until this gets finished. Alright, so after a long, extensive search, I realized what the problem is. It turns out that private void on trigger 2D was not correct. It was supposed to be on trigger enter 2D. And I think this should work now. Alright, so now the game is working perfectly fine with the scores, and personally it is a little hard for me. I can't really do better than 3, but oh well. Alright, so I'm going to try to make a game in 1 day. In other words, 24